The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 5 is over, but we're just getting started here on The Walking Dead Live. And now, here are the two guys who also look like they're pretty fun guys, Rob Cesternino and Josh Wigler. Josh, oh my God.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Uh, Abraham.
Abraham. Rob, before we begin, I feel like so you and I have been podcasting about The Walking Dead for, gosh, it's over a year at this point, right?
Yes, well over a year.
We're a year and a couple weeks over at this point, and I just feel like I should come clean about something.
Yeah, yes, what is that?
I've been lying to you,
About what?
Rob. I'm not a podcaster.
No, but you knew you were on all those things. Yeah, you were.
I'm a scientist.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know. I'm a scientist. I'm not a podcaster. So I'm sorry to you and the listeners of The Walking Dead Live here on Post Show Recaps.
Come here. Let me punch you in the face.
No. You're thousands and thousands of hours away from me right now. There's no way you can get to me.
Oh my God, Eugene and Abraham origin story.
I know. It was like our origin story, like that time that I lied to you about being a podcaster, and you took me on anyway because I told you we had a very important mission talking about The Walking Dead every week, and I fooled you, Rob.
You did. You got me.
I got you.
You did get me.
You got Eugene.
I got Eugene. Anyway, so much to talk about here tonight in a very interesting episode, a lot of revelations, and boy, the path that we thought that they were on, they are not on. Did you know this? Did you know this was happening?
I did. I mean, listen, the show has made enough detours from the comics that I wasn't 100% sure that Eugene was going to be lying on the show. He certainly is a liar in the comics, and a lot of people had suspected that Eugene was lying on the show, and he said he's a scientist, he knows the cure, blah, 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 blah. I think even you had speculated that that could be the case. I think it seemed like it was a little convenient for somebody to roll along and say, I know how to solve this thing. It didn't seem like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead seems to not be that interested in zombie crisis. That being said, in that first episode this season, back in the train car in Terminus, when Eugene's like, I know exactly how to do it. We need to get to DC. We need to operate these terminals. We're going to flush out the thing. I was like, oh, that sounds fairly plausible. Maybe the show is actually going to do that. Maybe the show is actually going to go down the path of solving this zombie thing, and Eugene's not lying. But no, he's a liar. And he was a liar in the comics, so there you go.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to unpack everything from tonight's episode and, of course, take your questions. That's why this is Walking Dead Live. We've got the chat room open on post-show recaps. We've also got our Twitter open with the hashtag #recaps, monitoring your tweets. And then, of course, also on our YouTube channel at postshowrecaps.com/YouTube. Of course, when you watch the show these next couple of weeks as well, you could use the hashtag #PSRecaps and get your questions into the show as you're watching along, so just in case you can't watch us live or anything like that, you'll know that your question was submitted for the show. All right, so we've got a lot to do, and I guess we gotta start with Eugene here. First off, is Eugene dead? I'm gonna say no, because I think that if he was dead, I don't think they'd leave it ambiguous.
He got his ass kicked either way. I mean, if he's not dead, that guy's got a hell of a hangover tomorrow morning.
Yes, but that's a big difference than dead.
Yeah, no, you'd rather be hungover than dead. You'd rather be punch drunk than, in the ground.
Yes, and so, I mean, will Eugene continue to be part of this posse? I mean, I know that Tara has a soft spot for him, but after everything that he's done, all these lies, like, is there any value in keeping Eugene around?
Well, that's what he was saying to Tara, right? He was like, oh, man, if you guys don't think that I can solve this thing, like, if we get to DC and I can't do anything about this, you're going to cut me loose, you're not going to share resources with me, no one's going to protect me. And Tara's like, no, we're buddies, we're cool, we're buddies. So it depends on, like, how much does everybody else hold Tara's philosophy that, like, hey, we're friends, Eugene, you're good. Rosita certainly seems to step up to the plate, and she stands between Eugene and Abraham at the end. She's got her hand on the gun on her hip. It seems like these guys are, to a degree, they're good people. Does that extend to like offering safety to a guy who's just really boned the crap out of them over the past several weeks? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
if I'm Abraham, if I'm any of these guys, I'm like, no way, Eugene, you're on your own, buddy.
All right, Rob, but be realistic. You're not Abraham. You're not any of these guys.
Where do you get off saying I'm not Abraham?
You're not Abraham. You're not any of these guys. I'm not Abraham. I'm not any of these guys. We are Eugene.
We're Eugene, yes.
In this scenario, you and I are Eugene.
Yes.
Aren't you running around lying about what you can do to survive in the zombie apocalypse? Isn't that not a bad strategy? What can we really realistically offer here?
That is fair. That's fair. That's fair to say.
I think we're running around in our shorts with our arms at our side and just awkwardly running around saying we're scientists. I think that that's probably close to what we are instead of having handlebar punching faces in for a living.
Yeah, I think that you make a lot of good points that we are probably more like Eugene than we are some of these other characters, but that we're not saying like what would we do if we were on The Walking Dead. We're saying what are these characters going to do? I mean, I do suspect that this might be why in the story we have Glenn and Maggie with these guys, because if it was just Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita, I'm pretty sure that it would be a split vote and Eugene would be kicked to the curb. But I think Glenn and Maggie are going to be the.
They're good people. They're good people.
On, he's nice.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Tara also. So I think that they're going to go ahead. For Glenn and Maggie, this is tough stuff because Maggie was just so excited she had something to do.
She had something to do. It was good. It was nice. Now they've got nothing. That's the real question. Where do they go from here now that DC doesn't seem to be the big option that Eugene was hyping it up to be?
Yeah, so now they don't have DC on the table, and now The Cure is off the table. I mean, we were talking about only a week ago about Nightmare's End, and when after this is all over, but now there really is no end in sight.
No end in sight. I mean, they could still keep going to DC. That's what Eugene was saying. He's like, I don't know if DC can cure this thing, but I gotta imagine it's the safest place to be. So DC might still be on the table, just saving the world is probably not. Certainly, it's not in Eugene's. It's not on Eugene's plans.
Let me ask you this question, Josh. Now, again, we have no idea how and when, or if ever, The Walking Dead will end, if it will just continue to go on for 30, 40 more years. That being said, could you see an ending to The Walking Dead that there is a cure, there is a fix to this that has nothing to do with Rick's group?
That has nothing to do with Rick's group? Like that yes. One day, like Rick walks outside and he's like, oh God, it seems like somebody cured this zombie thing.
Yes, kind of like in, the movie The Mist, where it's just like at the end of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, like they must have fixed it. You're in your house and it's a blackout and the lights come back on. Like, oh, somebody must have done something.
Interesting, because Frank Darabont directed The Mist and also was the guy who launched Walking Dead back in season 1. No, I don't know. Maybe that's the spin-off show. Maybe the spin-off show will solve the zombie problem, and then that'll trickle over to the main Walking Dead someday. But no, I kind of think this problem's here to stay. I think even if Walking Dead ends, I don't see it ending. Certainly with any like external outside problem solvers. I think it's either going to end on Rick's terms and like Rick's group's terms, or it's going to just continue on, and whatever ending The Walking Dead does have is going to be more of an emotional ending rather than a world-changing ending. Okay,
that's fair enough. Where does Abraham go from here? Because we had all very similar to from last season, the episode with the Michonne flashbacks, and we kept going back to Abraham. And should we presume that was Abraham's wife, Ellen?
Yeah, I think you can say that. It seemed like it was Abraham's family.
Yeah, Abraham's family. Now, what did Abraham do that Ellen was so turned off that she wanted Abraham to not go with her?
Well, they both the wife seemed like she was in kind of rough condition. Like she looked a little scuffed up, right?
Are you saying that Abraham beat her up?
No, I think that Abraham was defending her. So in the flashbacks are flashing back to the apocalypse. It's all in the apocalypse. I think we get the sense that the passage of time in the flashbacks is no more than like an overnight thing. And when Abraham encounters Eugene in the episode, it seems like it's no big deal that there are zombies around. Abraham's already used to that. So I think it seems to me like Abraham and his family are in the midst of the apocalypse. She looked kind of scuffed up. Abraham is surrounded by these dead bodies that are presumably now dead at his hands. And I think that they are kind of horrified at what Abraham has done in combination with what had been done to them earlier.
So why was there so much focus on Abraham's hands in the flashback?
I don't know, because his hands can save people. His hands can do terrible things. All of these things are different in his hands. The world can change in Abraham's hands.
Yeah. And so why did Abraham's wife try to leave him during the zombie apocalypse? That seems like the worst time to leave Abraham.
I would guess we're gonna get some more elaboration on that. I feel like it was a little thin to just leave it the way it is. I would imagine that Abraham's gonna he's gonna open up to like Rosita or something at some point, or Glenn, because Abraham and Glenn seem like they're buddies. He gets a little in Glenn's face from time to time, but I think Glenn can kind of calm him down. Glenn can kind of speak to Abraham in a way that nobody else seems to be able to talk to Abraham.
I'm following along in the chat room, and some people are saying that on the Talking Dead that they, or I'm not sure if this is from the comics or not, so maybe I'm not going to say it, but I guess that there's some scuffle between there. I guess some people had roughed up Abraham's wife, and then he killed them. Is that what happened?
That seems about what my read is on it. Yeah.
But why would she leave him?
If she's like terrified at what he's capable of. And I think that's another thing that gets addressed in this episode is like the people who are still around, where we're all able to kill, or we're like it's a kill or be killed world, and I think it's a reflection that his wife was probably too good for this horrible world that exists now.
Okay. Very, very interesting.
What did you think of having a whole hour of Abraham stuff?
No, this was fine but there was a lot of characters. I thought in the middle part I thought did get a little slow. Like the middle 20 minutes in the bookstore I thought was a little bit like they probably slowed it down a bit too much with everything. Like the scene with Abraham and Rosita, but overall, I kind of felt like it got a little.
Why did you like the scene with Abraham and Rosita, Rob? It's a little creepy that you were getting so much pleasure out of watching that scene.
I like self-help books.
Yeah, so, that's it.
Yeah. Yes, but anyway, so I felt like the middle got a little slow, but overall I felt like this was a good episode. And as opposed to last week's episode, which was all the Beth stuff, which I thought was probably the weakest episode so far this season, it was just Beth. At least we had 5 or 6 characters that we already know of in this ongoing storyline that we're invested in, as opposed to meeting all these new characters in the hospital with Beth last week.
I think that makes a big difference. We talked about how last week is the show going to slow down a little bit? It's been moving at such a fast pace in those first 3 episodes of season 5 because the whole gang is together. Is it going to start slowing down now that we're kind of splintering off a little bit? And I actually didn't feel like it slowed down too much this week, and I think that it's because of what you just said. The Beth episode is pretty much just Beth until you get a little bit of Carol at the very end. At least this week we had basically we had like 5 or 6 of the main crew in this episode. So I thought that was pretty good. And, Abraham was a cool character, but he came in kind of late in season 4. I don't feel like that we really, really got to know him or Eugene or especially Rosita. I feel like we have a better handle on Rosita as a character after this week. So I think it was kind of important for us to get to know those 3 characters a little bit more, and giving them kind of their own episode was, I think, a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, and the Eugene stuff, the reveal was, there was a lot that they paid off here. Where there's a lot of things that Eugene said which were weird that, make a lot more sense. Like, Eugene wanted to go to Terminus, and Eugene didn't want to leave Rick last week. And especially, tonight Eugene wants to go back to see what everybody else is doing. So it really did, turn out to make a lot of sense that Eugene really never wanted to get to DC.
Yeah, he was not into it.
Yes.
He did not want to get there. Crazy that he sabotaged the bus.
Yeah. So he put light bulbs in the bus, because I was wondering when it was happening, like, why did the bus crash? Did they turn around? Did he hit anything?
No, because Eugene's an asshole. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, he's a crazy guy.
I don't think that he meant for the bus to flip. I think he said that he just didn't want it to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he was expecting it to like explode like that.
So is Eugene is he a scientist? Or he's just like well read?
He just knows stuff. Yeah, I think he's well read. I think he's smart. If he's a scientist, I think he's a self-made scientist.
Like he cooks meth?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's kind of the Jesse Pinkman of The Walking Dead, this guy.
Yeah.
Although maybe he looks a little more Gail Bedecker.
Yes, definitely. A lot was also made about Eugene's mullet tonight.
Yeah, I like Arrow who's like, is your hair like your source of power? I liked all the Samson references. I thought was pretty funny. No, I like it. You know, listen, this dude has this crazy mullet. It would be weird if people on the show didn't point it out.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk, especially in the first scene, like a lot of talk about Eugene's mullet, a lot of talk about Abraham's hair. Even Rosita is talking about shaving Eugene. He wants to be dolphin smooth.
Well, I think
smooth.
Yeah, he's gone smooth. No, Eugene didn't want to get shaved. Eugene's like, no one is touching my hair.
That's what Abraham wanted to get shaved.
Yeah.
Like
Abraham's down to be like bald like a baby.
Yeah, he's up for it.
That'd be a bad look for Abraham.
Seems like that would be a big job.
That's a big job. That's like a lot of hair.
That would be a big job.
Yeah.
How do you think that, assuming that we're going to meet up with Rick and company, how do you think Rick's going to react to this news?
I don't know. I mean, DC is a fairly new idea for Rick. I think he'll probably just be like, "Oh man, well, what are you gonna do?"
Unless don't you think Rick is gonna be very upset about the lying part of it to the group?
Yeah, he doesn't like the lying thing. But I think if somebody like Glenn vouches for Eugene, Rick is inclined to listen to a guy like Glenn. He's inclined to listen to Glenn and Maggie. I think if they can vouch for Eugene, question is, will they vouch for Eugene? I think that's what it's going to come down to.
But why would they vouch for Eugene? I still don't get what is so good about Eugene that anybody would vouch for him.
He's one of them. He's just like this. He's just like this sad, fat idiot who can't protect himself. They feel bad for him.
Do we need a sad fat idiot around? I mean, what? Like I know he's Craven. I know he's smart, allegedly, but I mean, what is he? I think he really needs to earn his way back into the group at this point.
Well, listen, I mean, there've been some serious about faces in this group already. We've had Carol, who started off as this extreme victim of domestic violence, who loses her daughter and seems like she's just, literally she's just the Walking Dead at that point, and she turns around and becomes Sarah Connor on everybody. She turns around and becomes the biggest badass in the group. You have a guy like Daryl, who's just an asshole, and his brother is an even bigger asshole, and Daryl just does not know how to work with a team. And he turns around and he basically becomes the second in command of this group. So we've had some serious about faces within the group. We've had people who've started in one direction and have ended in another. And so maybe now that the mask is off, Eugene can put that good brain of his to good use now that he has a little bit of a need to redeem himself, and now that everybody knows what's behind the mullet. So maybe he can find some use in the group, or maybe they'll just shoot him in the face.
So Eugene was reading a book tonight. The book he was reading was H.G. Wells' The Shape of Things to Come. Any significance for you on that book that he chose to read?
The Shape of Things to Come is a top 10 episode of Lost.
Yes. Is he a big Lost fan? Is that what's going on?
I think so. I think that's what he was doing before the zombie apocalypse began. He was just binge watching Lost and podcasting about it.
That's probably what he was doing.
He's a big fan of Trisha Tanaka is dead.
That's how he knows things.
Yeah.
So as far as Abraham's hands, I know there was so much focus on Abraham's hands.
Were you having problems with like the wound being open and him like punching zombies? Are you worried about infection? I know that's always something you're concerned about, Rob.
It certainly is something that I'm concerned about, but I'm just couching those concerns because I know that nothing will ever happen to anybody from getting infected with zombie blood.
So you think?
That's what I'm thinking until I see differently.
Okay.
I'm not worrying about that. But
Good.
But I felt like there was so much significance and focus on Eugene's hands and the cuts on his hands.
Abraham's hands, yeah.
I'm sorry, Abraham's hands. Why so much focus on that? Just because that his hands are used to bludgeon people?
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of, it's a metaphor. It's a symbol for the fact that Abraham has these wounds that just cannot stop bleeding, no matter how much he tries to heal this one wound. It's just constantly reopening and oozing out. And I think, that's like the family thing. We saw him at the end of the flashback. He was ready to end his own life, and he only continues on because somebody comes along and bandages the wound. Eugene comes along and says, "I've got a mission for you," and Abraham says, "All right, let's do this," because he stands up and he's now bandaged a little bit, but just the more and more he goes, the more and more frustrated he gets, and the more that wound just kind of keeps reopening, and he tries to bandage it up, but it's going to keep bleeding. So it's an issue that he has to deal with that clearly he has not dealt with entirely yet. So I think that that's part of what it's representing.
So what's the move here with the fire truck crew? Do they just turn that fire truck around, which is probably easier said than done on that two-lane road? But that being said, is that what they're going to do? They just drive back to the church?
Yeah, I don't know what you do at that point because, now it doesn't seem like you got to be in such a rush to get to D.C. It doesn't sound like a bad option still. But maybe at this point it's like, all right, I guess we turn back to the church, try and hook up with Rick again, because we know those guys are there and there's strength in numbers, and then we can all decide what to do.
Now there's no rush to get to DC, so we might as well circle back and pick up Rick.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know where that's going, but if I'm Glenn and Maggie, that's probably what I'm pushing. It's like, well, we don't need to get to DC now. Let's go reunite with our gang because those guys are pretty legit.
All right. What's the Eugene and Rosita origin story?
What do you mean? Like where
Abraham and Rosita? Origin story.
Well, we don't really know where Rosita came from, and we don't know how long ago Eugene and Abraham first met. We don't know at what point Abraham lost his family. We know it happened during the zombie apocalypse. It seems like it happened deep enough into the zombie apocalypse where seeing zombies is kind of just par for the course for Abraham at least. Somewhere along the way, he picked up Rosita, and somewhere along that way, Abraham and Rosita started knocking boots in bookstores. So I don't know. We haven't seen how that really started. I wonder if we will see that. I feel like there's still much more to learn about Rosita. Of the three of those characters, I think she was the one that kind of got the short shrift tonight. But I still feel like we knew a little more.
About Abraham that we don't know?
Is there more about Abraham that we don't know?
That she got the short shrift?
Oh. Yeah, maybe he's compensating for something. Who knows?
That's very possible. What do you think about that scene where he says to Glenn, "Gonna go get some ass now"?
I like that.
And Glenn is like, "All right, I didn't need to know that." Glenn's such a prude.
Yeah, and then Glenn just goes and snuggles with Maggie. You'd think that maybe he'd be charged up.
Yeah, you would think so. But then so there's Abraham and Rosita, and then Rosita says, "Hey, he's watching." He's like, let him watch." You would think that Abraham would be like, "Eugene, you better get out of here right now."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that maybe Abraham's into it.
He liked it.
Yeah, cheer me on, buddy.
You liked it. Did you like that Tara went and took a peek over the fence also?
Yeah, she's probably looking at Rosita, right?
Yeah, she says that she's a fan of the female form also.
Yeah, she's a big fan of the female form.
Yeah, so it's a victimless crime according to Eugene. You agree?
I mean, listen, Abraham and Rosita don't seem to mind. Abraham seems to be into it. He's like, yeah, get us to D.C. Come on. This is how we get to D.C. Keep going. Yeah, he seemed to be into it.
Yeah. As far as Glenn and Maggie go, in terms of this, Maggie really wanted to tell that story of Samson the whole episode.
Yeah, she'd just been chomping at the bit. She's like, "Oh, I got a really great Samson story to tell you."
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and as far as Glenn and Maggie go, there was some talk a while back at the prison that they wanted to have a baby. I'm glad that they've sort of couched that conversation also.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea. They're on the road, bro. You can't have a baby on the road. Just ask Tyrese and Carol. Having Judith was very, very difficult.
That was very difficult to do. Speaking of being on the road, it looks like next week could be a all Daryl and Carol episode coming up.
Yeah, Team Daryl, Carol. How do you combine those names?
I think they're just Daryl,
DeCarol.
Carol, to Carol, whatever you want to say.
Uh,
Now, if that's the case, it will be then a full month in between seeing Rick.
Wouldn't be the first time. Think about the back half of season 4. We went like 5 episodes without seeing Rick.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't like when the show goes that far away from. If Rick is supposed to be the nucleus, you can't go a month in the season and not even show us Rick.
It's not preferable.
No, it's not preferable.
It's not preferable. And yeah, especially, I mean, the first 3 episodes of this season were just so lightning fast, and I think part of the appeal wasn't just the whole group being together, although I think that was a huge part of it. But I think what was really interesting was just like seeing how far Rick is gonna go, and just like how intense he's gonna get. And I thought that was a really great, climax to that story, was him just like wrecking Gareth and the cannibals and just annihilating those guys, and seeing that this is the Rick that we've bought into now, and it's a pretty cool guy. So now to be 2 episodes at least removed from him, and then it seems like next week we might not get a ton of Rick. It's a while. It's a while. I think that the show needs to be hanging with Rick a little bit more, especially while he's this interesting.
Yeah, because there's only 3 episodes left in the first half of season 5, and so you figure we're gonna burn one next week with Daryl and Carol and Beth business. That means we are only gonna have 1 or 2 episodes with Rick at the end of the season, and so the chances for a lot of progress in this half season really seem slim. Like,
Yeah.
It's basically going to be potentially like 3 days after Terminus, right? How far removed from Terminus will we be in the entire half season?
Yeah, like a week,
Yeah,
maybe.
so, or maybe a lot of time elapses between when everybody gets back. But we did see where where Daryl is already back, and it's only like a day later right.
Yeah, it's not much more than a day or 2.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see exactly what happens. Are you ready to open this up to some questions, Josh?
Rob, I was born ready.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Is the question?
I'm just kidding. I lied. I'm not ready.
You said.
I know.
You were ready.
I know. Okay, let's just do it anyway.
All right. Kick us off, Josh.
All right. We've got this one in from Ryan McMurray, who asks, who would win in the Woodberry Thunderdome, Eugene or Milton?
Yeah. What did you call Milton a couple of weeks ago?
Melvin?
Is it Melvin?
I thought it was Melvin. Is it not? It's Milton?
We'll have to get a fact check on that.
I thought it was Marvin.
Yeah.
Or Melvin.
Yeah. What did you call him recently? Like a dingus?
A weenus. I may have called him a dingus. I may have called him a weenus. Those tend to be my go-to descriptions for guys like Mervin.
Mervin.
Yeah.
Who would
Is that
you
not
take?
His name? It's Milton.
Who would you take?
I think I would take. I feel like Eugene has more of a survival instinct than Mervin does.
I think Eugene is meaner.
Yeah, I think he's meaner. He's telling more ruthless lies. He's got some Samson powers hiding in that mullet of his. He's done a lot of crazy shenanigans to get to this point. And Mervis didn't really do anything other than like do zombie autopsies and work for the governor. But like he kind of punked out on the governor in the end. So I think I would take Eugene over Mervin.
I'll tell you what, Josh. I am so out on any future character that's like, I'm an expert in the disease or anything like that.
No more trust.
No, I don't trust anybody. Nobody's gonna figure this out. People,
Trust
they might as well say they're an alchemist at this point. Like, here's a character. I could turn zombies into gold. That's what I do.
Yeah, you would not trust that guy.
No. There will be. I don't think that we're gonna see another character that has a cure.
Rob, do you have trust issues with anyone who comes along that has a mullet now?
I think that was before the show.
Oh yeah, that predates The Walking Dead for you?
That predates The Walking Dead for me, I think.
That seems.
Okay, what about this question?
You don't trust Shambo?
No. I don't trust her because she won't come and podcast with me.
Okay.
Carlos V 1031, is Barnes and Noble's the best place to get it on in the zombie apocalypse?
Oh. It's not a bad place.
Apparently, it's not a bad place. I mean, if it was a great place, then maybe Glenn and Maggie might have gotten in on the action. But I will say it doesn't seem to be that bad a place. I mean, the bookstore is a good place to hang out. You could read a lot of the books. Of course, you can burn the books. They have toilets you could drink out of. So,
But specifically, I think the question was getting it on in the zombie apocalypse. Is the bookstore the best place to do it?
I'll say no.
But I would say it's not bad.
Yeah, I'd say the mattress store is the best place.
The mattress store is pretty good. You could like play, because I was thinking like in the bookstore you could play the game of like, well, let's do it in every section of the bookstore. Let's do it in the fiction section, the nonfiction. Let's do science fiction. Let's do fantasy. Let's do young adult. You also have like the cafe that you could do it in. So like there's lots of different places you could do it in. You could turn into a kind of a game. But the mattress store you could just like do it on every mattress, and that would probably be better.
Yeah, I think probably just like a hotel, still the best place.
Hotel would be good.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
think
bad.
so. I think
I think somewhere with like a cushy surface would not be bad.
find one with no like dead bodies in there. You sort of lock the door, have some privacy, and that's good. Eugene's not watching in the closet, unless you want that.
I mean, unless you want that, and also, how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
How do you know? Joel Avery says, do you think Abraham will give up now that he knows Eugene was lying? So, what will Abraham say? Well, do you think he's going to want to go back to Rick, or do you think he's going to say, all right, let's go to DC anyway?
I don't know. Is he just going to finish the job? Is he just going to put the gun back in his mouth?
I mean, I like that they started all the way in Texas with Abraham.
I know. Yeah. Is he going to go back to Texas?
He's come a long way.
He's come a long way since Texas. I don't know. I don't know where Abraham's going to go from here. He seems pretty upset. He seems pretty upset.
What'd you think of like the big? It was hard for me to even tell what was going on. There was like a ranch that was just filled with walkers. It was like a walker farm.
Where was the Walker farm? Oh, what was happening at the end of the...
Yes, when they were trying to drive through.
Yeah, it's just like this gigantic herd of walkers that have just collected, and like trying to go through that would be suicide.
Yeah, I felt like they kind of cheaped out on that.
Yeah, they could have blown up the budget on that one a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that they were like, hey, what's that smell? Oh, that must be a million walkers in the distance.
Yes.
Like, trust us. You don't need to see them. They're over there. See those shadows in the distance? Those are all walkers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Cabin Douche, our old friend, that.
Oh my God, Cabin Douche back from the dead.
Wants to know, is Eugene dead? P.S. I'm hungry. Cabin Douche.
Well, he's hungry. He's hungry because he's a zombie now. Cabin Douche. Is Eugene dead? I don't know, Rob. What do you think? Eugene alive or dead?
I said he's alive because I think if he was dead, that they would have just killed him. I don't think why leave it ambiguous.
I think that's probably fair.
Like, it's like if it'll be a better ending to the episode if he's just dead.
Yeah. I agree with that. Question in from Michael Rajpal, who says, now that the DC storyline is more or less over, do you think the hospital storyline will be dragged out until the mid-season finale? So what do you think, Rob? Is the hospital storyline going to be the meat of the rest of this, the tainted meat of the rest of this season?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, no. And is it good meat or tainted meat, the hospital storyline?
I think it's tainted meat. I think it's going to be... I'll be happy if we wrap up all of the hospital stuff in one episode next week, but I don't suspect that's going to be the case.
Is the hospital the virus storyline of season 5?
No, I don't think it's. I really
not that bad.
The virus story just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I had a lot of issues with this as far as like plot holes in the virus storyline of like how come like. Other than Glenn, none of the main characters got it, but all the red shirts did.
Right.
And so, I had a lot of issues with that in terms of the virus storyline. This, it's I don't hate the hospital storyline yet. If they drag it out for 3 more episodes over the hospital stuff, yeah, that's gonna get on my nerves.
Okay, well, let's see. We'll see.
By the way, just real quick without saying anything, hospital storyline, is that from the comic books?
No.
Okay, new stuff. Yeah, who knows?
Who
knows?
Totally new to me. That's the beauty of The Walking Dead. Some of this stuff is from the comics. Some of it is just poof, it's there. No one knows. So I have no idea what's going on with the hospital stuff.
Okay. Let's go to Emily Stobbs. Emily says, what song was Eugene humming? Was it Green Sleeves?
No, get your green sleeves out of my Walking Dead podcast. Get that out of here. Oh God, green sleeves. No, I don't know. What was that song he was singing?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
We'll go back. Carlos V, how about, does Abraham kind of owe his life to Eugene in a weird kind of way for stopping him from committing suicide and giving him a meaning to move forward?
Yeah.
Is Abraham indebted to Eugene?
In a sick, weird way, yeah. I think that's kind of the cool twist of the ending of this episode is like, yeah, Abraham, you could smash Eugene's face into the pavement right now if that's what you really want to do, but you gotta, he lied to you, but you gotta tip your hat to him. He also saved your life. You were about to blow your brains out, and he comes along with his mullet and his shorts and his lie, and you take the gun out of your mouth, Abraham. So you owe something to this guy, Eugene. So yeah, absolutely. I think in some very real ways, Abraham owes his life to Eugene. Eugene saved Abraham.
Yeah, but that being said, like, Eugene gave Abraham purpose in life and a reason to go on and continue. But that being said, he also took it away. And so I wonder if that's even more cruel to, have somebody give you false hope and then take that false hope away from you.
I don't know. I think any day that you got boots on the ground rather than brains on asphalt, I think is probably a better deal.
Okay. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Nikki Roy asks, do you think we will see more of Abraham's family in present time, or will they only exist as backstory? Well, I think they're only going to exist in present time if we're just like cutting back to their rotting corpses in the middle.
They're going to be walkers in the present time.
Oh man, they looked like they were too chowed down to be walkers. They looked pretty gnarly.
Oh man,
yeah, pretty bad. So I think maybe we'll see more of them in flashbacks, but I don't think they're going to be up and walking around. We've got a question
But I just one more thing. I think
Sure.
the Abraham flashback is done. I mean, I think just like the Michonne flashback happened, and it was one episode. And
I don't think you get two Abraham flashbacks.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Like I said, I think that he could elaborate by talking to Glenn or talking to Rosita or talking to Eugene, perhaps. I could see him elaborating on what his backstory is if we want to get like more concrete details to what was going on there. But I don't think that we're seeing another Abraham flashback episode, at least not for a while.
Let me ask you one more question before you take the next question from the audience.
Yeah.
So, which is the character that's in the mix right now that you would most like to see their backstory next?
Interesting. And I think that we're going to have a question about that coming up. But who would I like to see backstory for next? Father Gabriel might be interesting.
Oh, okay, Gabriel.
That could be cool. Maybe seeing like what was he doing if he wasn't a scientist? Just playing video games all day, or fire hosing his friends.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
What did you think of the fire hose, Rob?
I thought it was good, but what a waste of water.
Waste of water, yeah.
What a waste of water. I mean, I've been to 8 county fairs and 1 goat rodeo. I've never seen anything like that.
I know. It was pretty wild. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But listen, the fact that this show can still like kill zombies in increasingly ridiculous and creative ways, that's impressive.
Yeah, that was good. Okay.
Just water hosing, zombie heads off was pretty awesome.
How about this question?
All right, this is from Nando. Nando asks, what's more shocking, Eugene not being a scientist or that Abraham likes being watched?
I think Eugene being a scientist.
You're not surprised that Abraham likes being watched? He strikes you as into the voyeurism thing?
I mean, I don't know what the type is on that, but I mean, that didn't blow my mind.
No, didn't blow your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to Joel Avery. What would you like to see for the mid-season finale, the hospital or the Abraham group?
Oh, are those the only choices?
Hopefully, the mid-season finale is everybody getting back together.
You know what I would like to see for the mid-season finale would be, I would like to see like a Morgan episode. Morgan
flashback?
Yeah, Morgan flashback. Forget Father Gabriel. Give me the Morgan flashback.
Everybody can't get enough of Morgan.
No, I would love that, and that would be a cool mid-season finale, and then like have it end with him catching up with everybody. He's like, "Boy, do I got a story for you."
Yeah,
that'd be pretty good. I would like that.
Yeah. How about Danny wants to say, do Do you think we won't see Rick and the church group until the half-season finale?
Oh, God.
All right, so this is episode 5. Next week will be episode 6. I presume we will not see Rick next week. Do you agree with that?
Looks like it.
So the question is, will we see Rick in episode 7, or will it not be until episode 8?
We'll see him in 7. We got to see him in episode 7. That's too long to go without Rick.
I think we'll see him in 7 and 8.
I think so.
Yeah. Is there any reason, like, okay, so that let's say Carol goes to, let's just talk this through. So the next episode, do you think we see Carol and Daryl rescue Beth, or is the end of the episode is Carol and Daryl's like failed attempt to rescue Beth, and then Rick is going to have to go rescue them starting in episode 7?
Interesting. I could see that. I could see it being that like Daryl comes back. We thought that maybe Daryl had hooked up. What was that guy's name? Noah. Yeah. We suggested that maybe Daryl and Noah could be hooked up, and that could be who's in the woods with Daryl. So I could see like Daryl coming back and be like, "Hey, this is the situation. Carol's in there with Beth. We got to rock that. We got to rock that."
Somebody sent me an email this week that was a screenshot side by side that comparing that they thought Noah looked a lot like our friend Bryce Isaiah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is Noah a freak?
He did seem like he was a freak a little bit.
Does he like to get freaky all week?
Not as much as Cop Douche. Cop Douche also likes to be watched.
Do we also consider now is Eugene scientist douche, or is he not even scientist douche?
No, he's Eugene. He's Eugene.
Mullet douche?
How did Beth get off scot-free after what she pulled last week, and they just had her back to work at the hospital?
I don't know. This is pretty lenient.
Yeah, I mean, she got slapped in the face for something she didn't even do, and then she tried, like, she killed a guy.
They just put her back to work. What is it? It's like, no more lollipops.
That's it, Beth.
That's it for you. No more sweets.
Back to work.
No more sweets.
She also, they knew that
Tainted sweets.
They knew that she murdered the doctor.
Did they all? Do they? Yeah, I guess they do. Yeah. Yeah, why are they letting Beth just walk around? That's pretty stupid.
Yeah, that seems kind of crazy to me.
So these people were pretty dumb.
Well, they really are desperate for help, I guess.
I guess, yeah. It's hard to find good help in the apocalypse.
Hard to find good help. Yeah. Do you think that the doctor that's with Beth will be part of the Rick group going forward?
I'd like that. I like that guy. I think that he could be good. And it certainly seems like we need a doctor now at this point. Now that like Eugene is not a scientist with medical know-how other than what he's read in the books, I think that this guy would be valuable.
How about this? What if like the doctor escapes with Beth, and then he becomes part of Rick's group, and then all of the cop people come and say, "We want our doctor back."
And then Rick just eats them. He just bites their throats open.
It's like, here, take this pastor.
Yeah. Rick's like, Gabriel. Sure, come into my church. We'll talk about it. And then he just cuts them all up with a red-handled machete.
Sure.
I'd watch that.
Keith Dixon. He wants a question. Josh, better spitter, Eugene or Keith Nail?
Oh. I think Keith Nail.
Yeah.
I'll upvote Keith Nail over Eugene.
Eugene spitting on the corpse.
Unnecessary. Uncool.
Yeah. Did you feel like that went along with his story? Like, that he, I mean, is he just pretend to be Craven? I mean, because that was like a pretty, like, move.
Eugene is so Craven.
So why spit on? Like, that doesn't seem like a Craven thing to do. Spit on. That's like something Abraham would do. Why would Eugene do that?
You spit on something that can't spit back. That's like the ultimate Craven move.
I guess so.
Right? You know, it doesn't. This thing doesn't even have a chance to react. He's just spitting on a dead thing. Okay.
William Rinaldi has a question. He wants to say, if you were in The Walking Dead, who would you want as your leader? Jack and Sawyer, or Abraham and Rick?
Oh, we're getting lost here.
Yeah.
I would want John Locke.
Well, that wasn't the choice. What do you want?
I'm making the choice.
How about this? Let's make it only about The Walking Dead. Would you rather follow Abraham or Rick?
I think I would rather follow Rick.
Who's lost it more, Rick or Abraham?
Rick in the right way.
Rick in the right way. Abraham's like gone off the deep end?
They've both gone off the deep end, but I think at least Rick is like, he's more flexible than Abraham. And I don't mean that in a sexual way.
Whoa.
And I'm not saying that I've watched them both. But I feel like Abraham gets really fixated on the mission. He's like, stick to the plan, stick to the plan, stick to the plan, where Rick is better at improvising, I think.
Okay.
So I would trust Rick a little bit more.
All right. Paul Kristen says, looks like Eugene's fire hose scene was a metaphor for his sexual frustration. Was Eugene pent up after watching Abe and Rosita get freaky? Hashtag sick inside. Let them die.
Oh man,
You know what? I don't even think we can touch this question.
it's too gross.
Was that a Freudian feeling for Eugene to?
Yeah, he's just like, ah, this feels so good.
Yes.
Sweet release.
To unload his fire hose on the walkers.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. That's too deap.
Michael Ratchpaul had another question. We tackled this a little bit. Whose flashbacks would you like to see? I think Tyrese's would be interesting with Rosita a close second. So we talked about who I would like to see flashbacks for. How about you, Rob? Tyrese, Rosita, would that be fun?
Sure. I think that probably would be fun. I mean, a lot of the characters that we've seen the whole way through, they're probably we know their story. I thought you had a good one with Gabriel. Morgan would be good. Maybe somebody from the hospital. Like we did see a flashback from Gareth also this season. So it seems like maybe we're gonna get more and more of these flashbacks.
Interesting.
Okay. Let's go to William Rinaldi. And William says, the Jets just won today and look dominant. Is the zombie apocalypse right around the corner?
Oh, man. Well, I'm not a football guy. Rob, you are. The Jets are your team. How were the Jets today?
They won. They look dominant.
Did they look dominant?
But does it mean that's a sign of the apocalypse? No. The Jets have won games before. It has happened, believe me. And there did not signal a zombie apocalypse.
How would the Jets do in the zombie apocalypse?
Probably not well.
Not great?
Probably not well.
What's the big problem? Leadership issues?
Well, a lot of issues. A lot of issues. Okay. All right, let's do two more questions. Clown-sided has a question. Do you think that the show would be better if they had less episodes? Josh, let's say hypothetically, they do these, 8 and 8. What if it was just like one run of 13, or dare I say it, what about one run of 10? 10-episode season on Walking Dead. Better or worse show?
I don't think that's the problem. In fact, I really like the way they're doing it now, that like basically each half season they're kind of treating as a season. I kind of like that. I like that we have 8 and done, and then you wait a couple months and then another 8. I think it's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good episode count. It keeps the story focused. It keeps the writers without having to come up with too many things to do. What I don't like about it is I don't like how they keep separating the characters. I want these guys to stick together. I don't think they need to spread everybody so thin.
Yeah, it's an ensemble show. I think that the show loses momentum. Yes, there are episodes that are good when we get to spend a lot of time with them, but we only have 8 episodes in the half season. Like I think one episode only on Beth's story is probably too much. And tonight I didn't have an issue with, but I just go back to when 1/8 of the half season was about just Beth, and we have 15 characters to service in the show. I just don't think that's gonna
misfire.
Yeah, line up. Okay, and last question for us here tonight live. Eric Gibson, hey guys, do you think the show will keep the storyline in Georgia for the entire series now?
All Georgia, all the time?
Yes.
Just the straight up Georgia peach? I don't know. We'll see.
Where are they going? Where else are they gonna go?
I don't know. They haven't gotten very far. Apparently, they're still pretty close to Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean the show films in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I don't see it moving too far away. I mean, Atlanta can double for other stuff.
Yeah.
Especially local states, like states that are close by. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably. I don't think that the show is interested in moving them too far away from where they are.
Okay.
I don't know if the writers necessarily see a value. Or if Robert Kirkman, the creator, I don't know if he necessarily sees the value in moving them too far away from where they are, as long as we're still focused on these characters and their conflict.
Yeah, look for the Walking Dead spin-off to move to a different location.
Where is it going to be?
I like Vegas.
Walking Dead Vegas?
Yes.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I could sign off on Walking Dead Vegas.
Yeah.
Walking Dead Zimbabwe?
Whoa.
So we can get the origin story for those statues in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, that would be good too.
That'd be good.
I think it'll be, it should be someplace on the West Coast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Walking Dead San Fran?
Yeah, Fresno.
Those walkers would have a hard time with those hills.
Yeah. Charming.
Walking Dead Charming?
Yeah.
Redwood Original?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
All right.
Charming cannot get much worse, to be honest with you.
It would be tough. It would be
tough. It would be tough.
Okay, so Josh, let's give people a hashtag who made it all the way to the end of this episode that want to tweet to us and tell us that if they like the episode. You can tweet us and tell us if you didn't like the episode too.
Oh man, what are you thinking? Something with Eugene watching the nasty? What should we do there? What are you thinking, Rob? Do we have anything?
Peeping Eugene?
Peeping Eugene. Yeah, it's a mulleted version of a peeping Tom. A peeping Tom with better hair is a peeping Eugene.
Okay, fair enough. Peeping Eugene. All right. So speaking of charming, Josh and I will be back. Only 4 episodes left in the series of Sons of Anarchy.
I know.
We'll be live covering that this upcoming Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific or a.m. Eastern time. 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you can't be with us, you can check out the podcast on postshowrecaps.com or by subscribing to Post Show Recaps at postshowrecaps.com/iTunes or on the new Rob Has a Podcast app, which just came out this week. You can listen to all of the Rob Has a Podcast episode and Walking Dead episodes and reality TV wrap-up episodes. That's in the App Store under Rob Has a Podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah, do all of the things that Rob just told you to do.
Yes, very, very good stuff.
Not a lie. These are all good ideas.
All good stuff. Josh, anything else of note coming up this week?
We're gonna have another Lost Lives podcast this week. That's gonna be audio only, so look for that on Tuesday. We're gonna be talking about our boy Sawyer, who we just name dropped a few questions ago. And also, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, if you read the books that Game of Thrones is based on, we've got another Game of Thrones book club podcast happening live later this week on Wednesday. We're talking about The World of Ice and Fire, the new book that just came out. So fun stuff on Post Show Recaps this week.
All right. So if you want to make sure you never miss an episode of Walking Dead Live, subscribe to our Walking Dead podcast feed. Go to postshowrecaps.com/TWD iTunes. And also use that link if you want to leave us some feedback on iTunes. That's the biggest thing you could do to help us get the word out about the show. We really appreciate it when you leave us a star rating or your feedback at postshowrecaps.com/TWD iTunes. And also leave us your comments on the website as well and on YouTube. We appreciate that too. We love to hear what you guys think. It makes it much more fun for us too. All right, Josh, we will be back next Sunday night. Can't wait.
Oh, man, I'm pumped.
All right, see you guys then. Have a good one.